Hello guys, this is Modest Major here, bringing you some commentary over some Community Forge Ricochet gameplay. The score in the background is 54-4. That might sound like a pretty respectable score, but in all honesty, the gameplay itself isn't particularly outstanding. There's one AFK on their team towards the beginning. The gameplay is just a little bit repetitive in nature, and my team are doing pretty well, so I'm having to compete quite a bit for kills. It definitely picks up as the game goes on. I believe I make one or two nice snipes here and there, or I choke on every single gameplay. It's weird. I've got two gameplays on Firestone, and they're very, very similar in both scoreline and gameplay, so whatever. But I've been having a blast with Community Forge Ricochet. I think some people have been finding Ricochet. I know Seb the Diamond Thief has been talking about it quite a bit. But some people have been getting a little bit tired of Ricochet just because I think Halo was kind of at a point where we really, really wanted a new playlist into the matchmaking, and then Ricochet came along, so we pretty much rinsed it as much as we physically could. Like, I've played a crazy amount of Ricochet games ever since it's come out, and you know, to me, I still find it enjoyable, but I do see where people are coming from because I'm just so familiar with the way that the game type works and the way that the spawns work. I mean, also the spawns are very predictable. The spawns are fixed, of course, so the gameplay isn't always necessarily dynamic, especially if you're playing against lesser players. But I still enjoy it, and I still think it's fantastic for Halo 4. And it better be in Halo 5. Like, if it isn't in Halo 5, they're insane. I worry that it might be the sort of thing that they overlook in Halo 5 just because this came out towards the end of Halo 4's life cycle and it wasn't necessarily popular. But I feel like if this game type had been out at the launch of Halo 4, it would have been very successful. It manages to somewhat bridge the gap between casual and competitive. Like, you can play it and go for the win and usually stomp on kids, but you can also play it casually, playing the objective and learning all these new fun and wacky ball routes to be able to throw it in from different parts of the map. One thing that I would say about Ricochet that I believe they should implement is, and I've talked about this with friends, is that I think if you throw it from a certain distance, like if you throw it from halfway across the map, you should get like 100 points or 70 points maybe. More points than just running it in, because running it in is actually pretty easy to do a lot of the time, and I understand that if you throw it whilst you're right next to the goal, that's not really hard at all. But in terms of, like, throwing it across the maps, I wish there was some way that it rewarded people for coming up with all these unique and distinctive throwing routes, because, you know, I know that a lot of people have done tutorials. Seb the Diamond Thief and Toast Bomb Halo both did tutorials on the throwing routes on Ricochet, and it kind of sucks that, like, yeah, it helps you score easier, but 20 points is, like, nothing in terms of the objective. Like, you're much better off going for kamikaze run-ins, to be honest. That's just the way I see it. But these maps, I really hope that a lot of them get picked and implemented into the matchmaking. I think a lot of them would work within CTF itself, and like, they just seem pretty flexible maps, to be honest. I almost think that some of them could work in Infinity Slayer as well. I believe this one is definitely one that could work in Infinity Slayer. I'm not necessarily sure. Like, each one of them kind of has their own flaws in some respect. But I don't think that means they should be overlooked in any way, shape, or form. It's almost a shame to me because, like, not all the maps are going to be picked. Yeah, I think all the maps could be fun in matchmaking if just one or two changes were made here and there. But I feel like certain ones will just get overlooked because they'll have one outstanding flaw, even though that could be changed fairly easily. That's just how I see it. And let's not forget the Forge Island test playlist and how that was just completely abandoned and they only took Onyx from it, which we knew they were going to take Onyx because Onyx was an absolutely outstanding map. But it just kind of sucks that some of those maps were overlooked. I can't even remember the names of them nowadays, but I know that I had fun on a couple of them here and there, so it's kind of a shame that we just swept that under the rug and didn't reward the community for going out of their way to make some cool maps here and there. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. At least we got Onyx from it. But I'm just hoping that, like, we do a good job of picking the maps and picking the right maps. I think for me personally, my favourites so far have been Butter, Firestone, Inheritor, and possibly Hakao. Hakao is a fantastic map. It's definitely got its problems. I think the spawns aren't necessarily balanced. One spawn feels like it's a little bit more dominant, I believe, if you spawn on the blue side. But at the same time, they're just such unique and innovative maps. And this was what I was really looking forward to in Ricochet, the Community Forge Ricochet map, is because I knew that the fact that making maps for Ricochet would spark people's creativity. I kind of wish that they did something think more with, like, the goal placements. I wish there was some way that, like, they could put a goal in a really wacky place that was really hard to get to or hard to throw it to. Like, maybe if they put a goal in the middle of a maze, or if it was really high up and it almost became like basketball, where you had to dunk the balls. That would be freaking awesome. But as long as they keep in Ricochet in Halo 5, I will be content. I just want to talk about a couple other things because this is quite a long video. We're obviously approaching Xbox One right now. I don't know about you guys, but I seriously couldn't recommend the Xbox One at launch to anyone. And I'm almost kind of worried that PS4 is going to take the cake in terms of sales. Because of this recent announcement that the PS4 has better graphics, not only in its actual engine, but apparently Battlefield 4 is able to be played in like 1080p or 900p, I believe it is, whereas Xbox can only be played in 720p, and there's a couple of noticeable differences there. And B, the PS4 is just the cheaper price point. I think that's what people are going to be looking for, because people, I don't think there's any real reason to shell out this much money for a console at this point in time, to be honest. Like, I struggle to find a reason. I'm actually buying it, because I've had a lot of money saved up, and to be honest, I've just really wanted to early adopt a console for quite some time, especially when it comes to Xbox, because I believe the original Xbox I got a year late, and the Xbox 360 I got a year late, so it would be cool to just have an Xbox One at launch, and to be able to discuss some of the games with you guys, and maybe share a couple of them on the channel, or just at least talk about them. I like to have a good experience of how the gaming industry works. I think a lot of people get shoehorned into just focusing on one game, and their understanding of other games just completely slips, and therefore they don't have a very informed or knowledgeable opinion on gaming in general. It's kind of hard to, discuss the positives and negatives of a game if you can't compare that alongside other big titles. That is why, sorry, I've talked for a long time, and I'm tired, and I'm an idiot. That is why when Call of Duty Ghosts comes out, I will actually be buying it, even though most likely it will probably be a terrible game. But I just like to have an informed opinion on Halo, and I also think that, like, Call of Duty does a couple of things right where Halo doesn't, in terms of the way that it's structured its competitive gaming, obviously with League play, and just the amount of options on offer in terms of camos and stuff. And I think Halo could definitely take a couple of leaves out of their books, but either way, I'm going to be buying all that stuff, and I'll share with you guys whether I believe it's worth it on launch. But right now, I don't really see that happening. Even next year, you've got Destiny and Titanfall both co-releasing on each console. It's kind of like, well, what's the real reason for getting it? Because, Titanfall will probably be just as fun on 360. Titanfall doesn't really look like a game that's going to be outstanding in terms of graphics. I think Destiny will definitely be more worthwhile getting it on next gen. But even then, like, the PS4, I think, will look a lot better, and then they say that they've got timed DLC exclusives, and I really don't want Xbox to start losing the console race, because I'm pretty invested in the games on the Xbox platform right now, and obviously I want the best for Halo 5 and the biggest audience possible. So we'll just have to wait and see, but right now, like, unless you have a lot of money to spare, I know I've been talking to a lot of people on Xbox, and these are people who play Xbox every single day pretty much, and a lot of them just don't have any reasons to buy a console. And if I didn't have a lot of spare money lying around, I wouldn't be buying it. No way. Like, if I had any struggle for money, what reason would I physically have to buy Xbox One? It's like, I could play Battlefield on there, but then again, I could play Battlefield on this gen. Yeah, it will be better graphics, but if it was a graphics argument, I could just play it on PC. It's not necessarily about the graphics. It's about the strength of the exclusives on the console, which the Xbox One doesn't have, and then it's the strength of the community, how big it's going to be. And I worry that maybe it's not going to be that big at the beginning. Like, even I don't think till Halo 5 we might not be picking up. And I'm sure a lot of people will buy Halo 5, but if Halo 5 wasn't a success somehow, or if it wasn't as popular as it needed to be, then I don't think the future of the Xbox One looks particularly amazing. But we'll just have to wait and see. One other thing I want to announce is I'm kind of thinking of starting up a second channel. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do it. Basically so I can put Call of Duty on there just for like the first couple of weeks. I just want to give my thoughts and my opinions of it. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm investing any time into doing it long term. I literally just want to do a couple of like videos at the beginning saying what my impressions are, and I don't really want to put it on this channel because this channel has been very, very Halo centric, and I'm 100% certain that none none of you guys want to be watching Call of Duty gameplay, and neither do I. I hate watching Call of Duty gameplay, but this gameplay is more going to be like critique and just looking at the game and the way the game works and saying whether it's good or bad. And if it's bad, trust me, I will be sharing my opinions on the matters. I'm also creating this channel in preparation for Titanfall. Titanfall may be a very big part of my content. Once again, I don't want that to conflict with the content on this channel, and even if I do enjoy Call of Duty Ghosts randomly or Titanfall, I'm definitely not going to be slowing down my Halo content anytime soon. I'm pretty sure I can manage uploading Halo 4 daily, unless the game gets really stale to me, but right now I'm enjoying it, so I don't see why that would happen. But I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. I have been Modest Major. Thank you for watching. Peace out.